Hello everyone, in this example video I'm going to go through how to calculate bad debt expense and the allowance for bad debt using what we call the percent of sales method. This is just one of the methods. Nothing is necessarily better or worse than the other, but this is a little bit simpler. So in this example it says that Chan Company estimates that 1% of its credit sales will be uncollectible. So 1% of its annual credit sales are uncollectible. So our first goal is to record the bad debt expense on December 31st. So I'm going to go ahead in my journal entry and write December 31st. And this is our overall simplest method. What we're going to do is take our credit sales for the year, 487,500, and we will simply multiply it by whatever percent we deem is uncollectible. This is the amount that we probably will never receive. So 1% or 0.01, multiply that together, and we would get 4,875. All right, and this again is going to be the amount of our current annual sales that we will probably never see. We don't know who those customers are, but our goal is to plan ahead and set that money aside. So to do that, we record bad debt expense as a debit, and this will record expense to our income statement, so 4,875, and then we put that in a temporary holding account. It's a contra asset account that has a credit balance, and it's called Allowance for Doubtful Accounts. Or sometimes you might see it called Allowance for Bad Debt. Same thing. And we're putting 4,875 into that account, again, as a temporary hold, because we know that someone will not pay us back, but we just don't know who yet. And so if we were to go down to our company's balance sheet after that entry, then we could see that maybe we had that whole credit sales amount currently in our account, 4,875,500, but now we have this allowance set aside of 4,875. And so when they ask about a net realizable value or our net accounts receivable, it just means that we took out this allowance for an amount of customers that will never pay us back. So if you calculate the overall balance here, it would be 4,825. 625. So 48,625. This is the amount that we think we'll most likely actually receive from those sales. All right, the next journal entry I want to go over is this one here in the middle of the screen. So it says, on the following February 1st, Chan decides that $580 in the account of P Park is uncollectible and writes it off. So probably the company's done everything they could. They've tried to contact them, they sent them a letter, they've called them, and they gave up. So that's what happens on February 1. Our goal here is we're going to remove the person's accounts receivable and take money out of this allowance account. So in order to take money out of that savings account, we're going to debit it. We're going to debit allowance for doubtful accounts for the amount we want to take away, 580, and we want to remove that customer specific account receivable. So the account receivable, and sometimes you might see dash and the person's name as an option. If so, then I would pick the more specific option, and we're going to remove their account, $580, from the company's accounts receivable. Right, so again, this would be our journal entry after we identify a specific person whose account is uncollectible. And our goal with all of these entries is to continue with our company's matching principle. That's one of the key components of accounting, is that we want to best match the sales at the time of an expense. And so that's why we plan ahead and set money aside into allowance for doubtful accounts.